Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to see us. I know you had another 2 options, so we're delighted that you're in our session. We'll try to be informative and useful. Look, I want to caveat the whole presentation by saying that we love midwives. Mush loves midwives. We're all mums in the team, and we have had the most phenomenal care from all of you. So now that I've sucked up to you, not really. Right, so we're here to talk about maternal mental health, particularly the loneliness issue. So a lot of you, if you're mums, will know this. If you're not, you've probably seen it. Becoming a mum changes everything about your life. It changes the way you feel about yourself. It changes the way that you go to work, or if you don't go to work. It changes possibly where you live, what car you buy, what products you buy. But I think the main thing is the way you feel, and it really does change that. Now, the story of Mush is really in how me and my co-founder Sarah met. It was really rainy. It was a November day, and I had a 2-week-old baby on my front and a toddler around my feet. And frankly, I was bored, sad, lonely. And I'd got out of the house just to try and keep my 2-year-old happy. My husband had left for work a couple of hours before. It was a really long day ahead. And there was one other girl in the playground, and she came up, and honestly, it was like a chat-up line. I think she said, "Do you come here often?" I said, "Yes, mainly every day, 3 times." Anyway, after that really initial awkward moment, we hung out all day, every day. Like, we did really boring stuff. We just drank tea at each other's houses, but it didn't matter. We did it together. And it was about 3 months later, when we reflected on this lifeline of a friendship, that we thought, why was that a chance meeting? Why, in this world of dating apps and tools that connect people, did we have to rely on you coming and chatting me up in a playground? So we realized it wasn't just us that had felt this feeling of despair around having small babies and not enough to do, and also feeling like we were on a slippery slope of feeling, like we might come into a mental ill health sort of stage. We did our research, and a staggering 80% of mums admit to feeling lonely. Those are the ones that admit to it. 54% of mums want more friends to share these problems and experiences with. Now, that slippery slope I was talking about, 1 in 7 are diagnosed with postnatal depression. And then, crucially, 43% of those say that having a support network is what makes them better. So this is a really important agenda.
So, considering all of that, if your community and your network of support is so important, and mums are recognizing that, I think it's also important to consider why now is potentially, as some mums are saying, 70% of mums now think that this generation is the loneliest ever. So what kind of factors are coming up to play? Well, an important one to think about is the change to our working lifestyle. Now, last week marked the centenary of women getting the vote. So amazing things have happened. We've come so far. And this has had wonderful impacts on the way that we live our lives. A big impact, I would say, is the change to our working lifestyle. So more than us than ever before are educated, and we are entering into the workforce. But if you look back to, say, 60 years ago, by 21, 75% of us were married. Our place was very much within the domestic sphere. We were described charmingly as economically inactive. But now more of us than ever before are working, which means that we are doing, our lives are structured around targets and challenges and being part of a really big team and socializing within that team. Now, that shift from kind of a team mentality and even a work lifestyle mentality to staying at home, where your team may consist of mostly just one baby that can barely communicate with you for the first part of their life. That is a really, really huge adjustment for people to take. Another thing that kind of can lead to is a feeling of not really knowing your community because you're out of the house so much. You may have very long working hours, and also your social circle may now be around colleagues as opposed to how it used to be, more structured around neighbours and families who lived down the road, which is another big change, is the nuclear family, which is a much more kind of isolated but independent family unit. We're living further away from our families than ever before. Like I was saying, previously, we might have had our parents or our aunties and uncles just down the road, and lots of cultures still have that. The Indian culture, it is normal for multi-generational households, so your extended family are all living within the same house, and they're very much a part of your life. Whereas in the UK, that's not so much of a thing anymore. Also, 1.9 million of us are renting. That's the highest figure it's ever been. Now, renting means that you have a lot more freedom in where you want to live, but it also means that you are susceptible to the instability of a renting market. So more families than ever before are having to move around and to change their postcode, and therefore change their community and their friends who live around them on a really regular basis. And okay, last but not least, we have to mention social media. Now, we've all read enough about the links between social media and mental health. And the internet has done wonderful things for creating communities. But what it can do, particularly for mothers looking at maternal mental health, is give really unrealistic comparison points. So not only now are we comparing ourselves to our peers, we're also comparing ourselves to celebrities. We've got snapshots of really heavily filtered, sometimes paid for content that is made to look like it's real life. Now, if you've got an emotionally vulnerable mother looking at these pictures, it's hardly surprising that they may end up thinking, I'm the only one who's not experiencing this happy family life. I'm the only one who is struggling to shift my baby weight. I'm the only one who is having a tricky time breastfeeding. But we've considered all these kind of negative sides of the way that our lifestyle is now. But there are a few things that are really great that we do know.
Yeah, the first thing that we know, as I've mentioned before, is that you guys rock. You really, really do. You are doing phenomenal jobs for mums that are bringing babies into this world. We are ever more prepared for the birth. We have wonderful antenatal appointments, and we know what to expect. We're scared. We're probably fixated, in fact, on having a baby, and we're reading all about it. And with your support, we know how to do it, and you help us bring babies into the world. Yes, actually, it's important to mention. So Sarah, my co-founder from the first slide, she had a baby 11 weeks early, 3 weeks ago. So she's constantly commuting to the intensive care unit at Kingston Hospital. And she was saying just this morning, can you tell them thank you from me? In fact, she's in Grazia today for a sort of talking about, how difficult it is to bring in such a premature baby. So she wanted to thank you. So we are really, really grateful for what you do, but we do know that you have constraints on your time. When they leave you, to your horror, I'm sure, especially when you see people that are vulnerable, there's only so much you can do, which is why we are here to help. So as we've talked about, historically women were in tribes. Imagine them around the campfire with their great-grandmother and great-great-grandmother and, all of their community around them. We are basically giving them the tools to create that community now. Just briefly worth mentioning, what Sarah and I were looking at when we were experiencing this and before we thought about Mush. You've sort of got the Net Mums and Mumsnet of 2000, which they were set up, nearly 20 years ago. It's extraordinary. And these are online forums where you have a faceless profile and you can talk about stuff. And I think you can get any opinion under the sun yet there. It's without a doubt a hugely valuable resource. I think what's important, though, is that you don't have that real-life connection. The one thing that was doing it very well was NCT and some of the hospital classes. But not only is the perhaps hard to come by, but there is a cost associated with it. So this was the first time that there was an app that looked to connect mums locally. So finally, let's talk about what Mush does.
Right, so we told you about how valuable we think it is, but let's get to the nitty gritty. So I am pregnant, or I've already got 1 kid, 2 kid, however many. I am going to head to the App Store or to Google Play, and the app is completely free to download. So you get it on your phone. I'm then going to create a profile. So as you can see by the example, I'm going to put a photo up, and we advise our mums to put up photos of themselves, not just their children, because the focus is really on trying to create friends for them, to do something for them. You put in your location. Now, obviously, that is never shared. That's just so that we can tell them how far away other possible friends are. So, for example, Sarah is, I think, 0.9 miles away from us right now. I'm going to put in the age of my children, and then I'm just going to put in a short description about myself and a few tags that describe me. That then leads me to the Mush Matcher, which is the second, well, actually, no, the second is the messaging, but I'll get onto that. So the Mush Matcher is a way to find your mates, really. So you can search for mums and dads. We also have dads on the app who are have the same interests as you, or have the same age kids as you, or are just super nearby. You can then message them, start up a conversation, arrange to meet possibly, which then gets me into the third section, which is a really exciting new feature that we launched the end of last year, which is a group chatting area based on your location. So, for example, I live in southeast London in Forest Hill, so my postcode is SE23, so I'm part of the SE23 group. And that is a place to, anything really, ask advice, share recommendations, or arrange a meet-up with other mums who are local. That comes on to next. I'm going to come on to the case studies, because they're basically why I think we can prove that Mush is really directly helping the mums and dads who are on it. So the first thing is it provides that adult interaction that lots of new mums in particular crave. We've talked about that shift from working to being at home, and this gives you the opportunity to have a chat online on the app or in person. Gives you a purpose to the day, someone to meet, someone in your area who's going through exactly the same thing as you. It's a super, super, super simple thing to arrange within the app. And finally, it makes mums feel normal and supported. Now, considering the social media kind of connecting us to the world, and it's just completely unrealistic comparison points, this gives you an opportunity to realize that you're not alone. And I was telling Katie earlier about how I was trying to find an example to prove this, and I found 2. So part of my job is also to look after the community and keep an eye on kind of what the mums want, if there's any better way that Mush can serve them. And I saw somebody had posted at 3 in the morning a few days ago, up on a night feed, "Is anyone else awake?" And there were 52 comments of just people saying, "Yeah, I'm up, me too, yep, I'm here." For me, personally, I've been there. If there are any other mums in the room, you've been on those night feeds. Sometimes you can feel like you're the only person awake in the world. That emotional kind of support in knowing that other people are going through it at the same time is really valuable. Now, on the other side, the practical kind of support that it gives, I also saw a post about breastfeeding. A mum who was really having a tricky time breastfeeding and asking if anyone had any advice or any recommendations of someone to speak to. And below there were 7 comments of people trying to offer up different things that this mum could try, ending up in them all arranging a coffee morning to go and chat about it, which for us is really awesome, because then we know that those interactions, which are really, really important online, are then being taken to real life encounters, which I think is super important for maternal mental health. So, kind of to sum that up, Mush is bringing mums together both online but also offline.
Lovely. So we've talked about what Mush can do. We've got a bit of a soppy video we put together for our 1-year anniversary. So to briefly talk about where we've got to, we launched Mush in April 2016, so it's 21 months old. We've got hundreds of thousands of mums on the app around the UK. It took off in Australia by complete chance as well, so lots of mums are making use of it there as well. We're privately funded. We don't ask for any money from mums. We really are here with a mission to make lives of mums better. But these guys will tell you far better than we will.
I remember thinking I might feel quite isolated.
Yeah, it was just really lonely.
Everyone talks about this overwhelming happiness that you feel when you have a baby. I didn't feel like that.
I mean, I'd go to the Sainsbury's all the time. It would be every day just to get out of the house.
I just wanted to speak to an adult.
And I think someone tweeted about it. And I immediately jumped onto Play Store and I downloaded the app. I saw that there were loads of mums and I thought, oh, this is great.
We had a nice little chat and actually arranged to meet each other.
A mum, another mum has messaged me.
And we text each other like more or less like nearly every day, don't we?
We just spoke every day, didn't we?
Yeah. You texted me when you were in labour.
Yeah, I did.
Now we go out and do so much more because we're going through it together.
Yeah.
Got my mate, haven't I?
And she's going to go to my daughter's first birthday.
Yeah. And you made a friend for life, haven't you?
It's for an app they created to help any mothers who might be feeling isolated.
I was amazed by how lonely I felt when I had small kids.
I hadn't had a proper, a laugh all day.
It is lonely at times and you do feel quite isolated.
Makes me all a little wet in the eye every time I see it. So really, we're here to tell you about loneliness. We've got a proper paper that we'd be delighted to share with anyone that wants to continue telling others about, the problem that is maternal mental health and loneliness. In terms of what we'd like to be here for today, it was really a call to arms. We think we've got a tool that can really help your mums. If you're able to tell them about it, a really popular time to say it is kind of at the antenatal appointments. A lot of hospitals are giving the flyers away and the discharge packs. It's a really good time to tell them. We've also put a pack together, so it's posters, flyers, breastfeeding bands, pens, and this can be sent to you, at the drop of a hat. It might take us a few days to pack it, but we'd be delighted to send them out. So if you would like one of these packs, please email saskia@letsmush.com. Find Mush online. You can also contact us through the website. But we'd love your feedback. We're going to be loitering by the cafe part of outside after this session that you'll next have as well. So please come over and say hi. I'll give you a flyer and our contact details as well. But thank you so much for letting us be here today. Please continue to do the great job you're doing. And thank you for having us.